You were nodding off inside of the Atrium souvenir shop, having made a makeshift mattress out of all the plushies. Slacking off was common for the night guards of the Pizzaplex, with the exception for one, but he was doing day shift at the moment. And there was really nothing to do. You're slowly dozing off. However, as your eyes just barely closed, a notification on your work tablet made you shudder. With heavy-lidded eyes, you checked your notifications. It was the daycare attendant. He had sent you an unknown error message. Sighing, you got up on your feet. The fastest way to the daycare was just turning to your right and walking straight forward. Though due to your sleepy state, you turned to your left, walking straight into the lobby. Down into the opposite direction of the daycare and entering the maintenance tunnels. A vast network that connected the entire Pizzaplex. It really was the arteries and veins of the building. Marching into the cold and moist depths below, you yawned, walking straight past the various maps, not even second-glancing them, confident that you knew the place after working here for almost a year. Eyes heavy and half-lidded, you stopped at a T-shaped crossing. You went right. And it wasn't until you reached the fizzy-fast soda silos in the maintenance tunnel storage unit that you realized that you were lost. Your heart skipped a few beats as you desperately worked your brain, but whenever you had an inkling of an idea, the images in your head changed into beautiful pictures of beds and random scenes of animes you had consumed over the years. Meanwhile, as you were trying to gain your bearings, the daycare attendant was sitting on the fencing of the balcony leading into his alcove. The animatronic performer wanted to show you a new trick he learned, where he would jump off the balcony with his flying rope attached and perform 3 somersaults, ending with a graceful T-pose upon landing on his feet. He was really proud of it, not knowing that this was simply the result of a recent firmware update that had introduced the trick into his system. He didn't really come up on it on his own. He wanted you to be the first one to see it, mostly because you were the only human inside the Pizzaplex as of right now. He couldn't help but feel stood up after a while. He knew you had made sure all other animatronics were in their green rooms. So what could you possibly be busy with? Now that was more important than him. As minutes turned to an hour, he got up on his feet. Soon the Pizzaplex's lights would turn off, to reroute the power to the batteries of the charging stations. This was not fair. Moon would take over and then he would most likely show off the trick. Angrily, the robot stomped his foot. No, that would not happen. Quickly, Sun jumped down into the ball pit. And as he rose from the balls, a plan had formed in his mechanical mind. A search party. Yes, you had to be gotten lost somehow. The robot sent out another notification to all animatronics. However, due to Roxy, Chica, Montgomery, and Freddy being locked in their green rooms, no one showed up. All but one. The ever-helpful Mapbot. Annoyed Sun looked at the machine. Take a map.
No, we need to find the night guard,
shouted Sun. Map. Take map. Sun sighed. The lights would turn off any minute. So he just took the piece of paper from the bot before it departed.
Thanks for your help. Not!
The map he had given was a map of the maintenance tunnels. Angrily, Sun crumbled up the paper before throwing it over his shoulder. Useless. However, just as the paper hit the top of the bin he was aiming for, It fell to the ground as the lights shut off. Moon awoke from his slumber. He groaned. The animatronic hated waking up, and the first thing he sees is garbage that wasn't properly thrown away.
Stupid messy children,
he grumbled. Checking the paper turned out to be a map of the maintenance tunnels. The robot tilted his head. Wait, Tunnel B6 was marked. Moon narrowed his eyes. That's where he would find this rule breaker, making a mess in his daycare. No, sir, not under his watch. You were overthinking every step you took, as if the net could. You were overthinking every step you took, as if the next could be your last. It was a strange, borderline fun kind of tension. By now you had realized if you had just taken the right instead of your left, you'd be in the daycare 5 times over already. Not to mention, you definitely should have taken your flashlight with you. This just sounded like this setup to a really bad joke. You made an mental note to never take a nap inside the Pizzaplex ever again. The further you got, however, the damper and darker the place became. Not to mention, as you checked your watch, the blackout would soon happen. Not to mention, as you checked your watch, you scarcely realized the blackout would soon happen. You sat down on a crate of animatronic parts. Better to sit and wait for the sparse lighting to return after it shut off. After all, walking around in the darkness would do you no good. And then, just like that, everything turned black. As you sat there in the oppressive darkness, you had stretched out your hand, almost expecting to touch something. This was the first time in your entire life where you could say, genuinely say, it was so dark you didn't even see your own hand. All of your nerves were working overtime due to your loss in vision. Noises, suddenly normal sounds became hostile. Your nose seemed to pick up on scents that shouldn't be there. Somewhere a pipe rumbled and you squeaked like a chew toy at the sudden noise. This wasn't good. You jumped up, your anxiety taking over your movements. But then you instantly face-planted into a wall.
Ow!
You complained. You rubbed your nose. It was then that somewhere from the darkness you heard a noise. That wasn't like organic ambience. It sounded like walking, mechanical feet. You turned towards the noise. In the darkness, you were a little unbalanced, like the ground was uneven even though it wasn't. From a corner, 2 red glows appeared. You screamed loudly out of fear and ran into the opposite direction.
Ah, there you are. Come back. It's past your bedtime,
shouted Moon. You once again hit a wall, and like a slab of meat, you fell back. Quietly, the robot approached you on all fours, climbing on top of you like an oversized spider.
You.
He sounded accusatory, while you tried not to cry from having your face smashed twice in a row.
You dirtied my daycare,
he hissed. What? You mumbled while holding your nose, assuming it was bleeding, but it actually wasn't. You were just overreacting.
I want this paper. Maintenance Tunnel B was marked, and I find you here. This is your map. You dirtied my daycare.
You blinked as you watched the robot pull out a crumbled-up FAS map. If that was my map, why would I have thrown it away? The animatronic blinked. Not to mention, I was lost. I would have really needed it. Moon always saw himself as the more mature one. Turns out, he wasn't. And your logical reply was screwing with his brain. I was lost, you said with a big pout. Definitely would have needed it. I would never have thrown it away. You tried to stand up, but then realized that he was pinning you down.
Before I let you go, I'd like to know more.
You sighed. In that case, can you at least hold down my wrists?
Why would I do that?
It'd be hard for one, and it would get me to speak more truthfully. Reluctantly, the robot let you raise your arms above your head before wrapping his large, slender fingers around them. You blushed hard and almost yelped.
Now tell me why you don't hear.
I got an unknown error notification. Moon blinked.
I don't believe you.
You sighed. So if this is an interrogation, the robot nodded in response. Then you're doing it all wrong. I don't feel threatened at all. He blinked confused and your heartbeat increased. You pointed between your legs. Put your knee there. He followed your instruction. Bit higher. Bit higher. Higher. Okay, good. His metallic knee now scraped against your groin.
What's next?
Now you grind it against me until I talk. Your eyes rolled back as he began rubbing his knee into your soft spot.
Now, speak. What are you doing down here, really?
As I said, I took a nap in the souvenir shop, and then I got an emergency notification. Unknown error from the daycare attendant.
Must have been sun,
muttered the animatronic angrily. Now spit in my mouth.
What?
You blushed. Just, that would get me to talk more. The robot pulled his leg back, and disappointed, you yelped.
This is weird. Why are you making these noises? You're making me feel strange.
I'm just being interrogated, aren't I?
I guess.
Okay, now, do you believe me? He nodded, uncomfortable with the entire situation. Are you sure? What if I'm lying? You gotta put more vigor into it, more, pressure. You gotta, your heart skipped a beat, and you bit your lower lip. Really get in there to get the truth out. He let go of your wrists and sat up.
No, this is weird.
Despite his refusal, however, there was a clear tint in his pants. You didn't even know he had this function. But not thinking about how super unfamily friendly this was, since he was constantly around children and toddlers, or the simple fact that what wholesome family restaurant chain would have animatronics that were anatomically correct, you just reached for it quite daringly. Come on, Mooney, you hushed lovingly. Push past my defenses. Thrust the truth out of me. Come on, you can do it. I believe in you. Minutes later, you opened your eyes. covered in sweat, heavily breathing. Raising your head from the countless plushies you had been resting upon, you gasped. You quickly grabbed your security tablet. No notifications pending. Blushing shamefully at your dream, you put it back down, making a mental note to from now on, take more naps in the Pizzaplex. Hey, thank you for watching my video until the end. If you're new here, I hope you stick around and watch a few more. But before I say goodbye, I'd like to remind you to like the video and subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm. That's all. Hope you have a good day. Until next time. Bye!